Hey everyone, here with Tabletop Bastion, it's Blake. I did definitely do a voiceover for this actively, turned out to not be great. So what we're instead gonna do is we're gonna overdub and overvoice this. I can kind of walk you through the time lapse, what we're doing, which is gonna be a Cobra Trooper, right there, painting him as a Crimson Guard. One of the different types of Cobra Troopers from the show G.I. Joe, which I love deeply. We're going to be using various reds, a couple of my old cool brushes that are usually bought from Hobby Lobby. Then we're going to go ahead, wash over it. I'm going to varnish it off screen with a satin varnish. Kind of my standard process. I'll kind of highlight some details, kind of show you what's going on. I have a paint handle here. That gray stuff beneath it is a putty that actually keeps it in place. My intention is to try to use a few less colors than I probably should. Here I'm picking off a piece of paint that somehow attached itself to the leg of my trooper, which I don't super appreciate, but it's fine. As long as it's smooth enough and it's kind of, yeah. See, there's a little spot of black, but it shouldn't affect anything. Yeah, so this is here, us comparing the blue and the blue and the white. Trying to figure out what is blue on that Cobra Trooper model and what we're gonna paint as red. That orange I'm showing you is my intention for the eyes. The normal Cobra Trooper has red eyes, but putting red eyes on a red model just seems redundant. So we're going to go with an orange instead. I'm using a mixture of Citadel paints, some Army painter. I even have a Vallejo or two mixed in here. I just have a lot. Honestly, I could just go with the new Army painter stuff. It seems pretty good. It's got some Heroscape. It's got like a Heroscape box with it. But right now, yeah, I just highlighted there. That's my paintbrush container. That was also a Hobby Lobby purchase. I got some speed paint markers I keep. I am not going to be using them for this this paint just because the size of the model is not going to be complementary to it. But if you guys have larger models, it's worth picking those up if you're not a huge painter but you want to paint stuff. If you want to like buy these models cheaper, right? The unpainted models come $10, $15, $20 cheaper. It might be worth just doing a quick paint job with one of those paint markers. Right here, I'm going through, cleaning my brushes, making sure that everything I work with is fine. I'm going to do a quick coat of the one of the Army painter reds. Kind of just identifying what's pant leg, what's boot, where the shin guards are, where the lines of those are. A lot of the stuff I do here is not detail. I will go through, paint it all, just kind of do a quick little coat. It's not important for it to be perfect on the first pass, nor do I care to actually try to make it perfect on the first pass, because I'm going to be painting stuff around it, right? This is a pretty tight model. It's got some areas that are kind of crevicey that are really hard to get in perfect. And I'm going to go back through it a few times. I'm not going to do a perfect paint, right? This is a table ready paint. Basically, you'll see it from a distance. It'll look good. I usually do a little bit above table ready, and this might be that way. But right now, the goal is table ready, right? This Cobra Trooper is table ready. Right here, I'm painting it not with a black. I'm going for a dark gray. It's called a German gray. It's one of the Vallejo colors. Just kind of going with the vest. I keep double checking with the Cobra Trooper model. You'll see me lift it occasionally, making sure I'm marking what's correct. What's black on this model, what's black on that model. I try to keep it somewhat consistent because that's how they kind of are in the show. The Cobra Trooper, the Crimson Guard, kind of just a red version of that. I'm going to paint 4 of these guys this way, right? I have a squad box. My intention is to take that squad box, paint them up as this consistently. I'm also going to do a Viper paint which is a mixture of red and blue. So it's kind of the hybrid version between these two. And I have actually a fourth box. I intend to paint up as some of the more obscure environmental troopers. There's different versions for like sand, hazmat, there's a ice version. I'm just gonna kind of paint them up in those colors, even if it's not the same uniforms, whatever it is. Here. I'm going through with a smaller brush, actually. It's a thinner, longer brush. It's better for getting into crevices. Lots of overhang, stuff like that. I'm painting the tops of this belt, sides of this belt. This is a little bit more detail, just because I'm trying not to get black absolutely everywhere. It's a little darker of a color. It's not impossible to cover. Here I'm using one of the dark reds to actually kind of build some contrast between the reds on the uniform. Because you can do just the same color red covering every single surface, which would be fine. However, I like to do a lot of similar shades in different locations, creating different kinds of contrast. See, a problem here is that if you look at the Cobra Trooper model and you look at the chest plate, I kind of realized that the Cobra symbol is bright red. So the fact that I went through with this dark red was a happy little circumstance, a happy little accident. But it's perfect, I think. I can go back through with this uniform red, and it kind of goes from this dark to this bright red, and I think that worked out perfectly. Here I'm just going back through, detailing the pant leg near the belt line, right? If you see white on the model, it really is just the harsh lighting. Once I set it down on the mat, kind of build some distance, you're going to kind of see a different view of it in comparison. So I'm not missing a ton of spots on this. Here I'm going through with the same color of the German black. It's a little thin initially. I think my brush was overly wet here, but going back through, I thicken it back up. We're good here. There's a lot to this model, especially specifically near the gun. The gun, the harness he's wearing, those areas I had a lot of difficulty with. I found that whenever you have models that are pre-assembled and they have these tight crevices, it's you going back and forth repainting a lot of detail over and over again, which is not necessarily a renegade problem. It's just one of the understandings you're gonna have with making these models tabletop ready. It won't be perfect. You're gonna always get some color mix. On these pre-painted though, I noticed that the gun itself even had blue on the actual silver. So it's okay. The Heroscape pre-paints are not absolutely perfect. I've seen some like roadblocks with the eyes misstamped, stuff like that. We're doing a good enough job. It'll look fine. It might even be a step above the pre-painted. That's the goal. A step or two even. It's not a competition necessarily, but if we're taking the time to paint up this model, I kind of want it to at least be comparable, at least. I'm just silver painting the gun, nothing fancy. It's fine. Usually in these shows, it's also just silver painted or black painted. But I'm trying to make it comparable to the Cobra Trooper model. So I'm going through black gloves, silver paint on gun. This is all stuff that I consider the bigger surfaces. Like the face guard is going to require a lot of detail, but this stuff is me just working with crevices, right? Me making sure that, okay, that's glove, that's gun, that's glove, that's gun. And it's just identifying lines is the biggest problem. Usually I would use a gray as the primer, the initial paint, right? But these guys, I kind of decided to go with a white to see if the color stuck better. And it went well, relatively. I like the gray to darken it up a little bit more. But if I was going with these bright colors, I decided to bite the bullet and just, all right, we're going to go bright red, which I normally is not my scheme. I'm a Warhammer, ex-Warhammer player. So a lot of my skill kind of comes from the more grimdark looks. If I show you my Scavarith, my Hellforge, stuff like that, you're going to see a very different paint job. Right here, I'm still going through. I still see spots of red that I just don't like, or I feel like that they're not completely covered. It might also be me seeing the initial like light that is just overly bright. That might be tricking my brain into seeing white where there's not. Here I realize that the red belt that I painted was potentially black, but it's okay. So paint it over with red because there's deep crevices on either side of it, and then just do a black overshade because black is going to win no matter what. Silver, a lot of metallics will also win. So if you're doing bright colors, try to understand that you may have to do a couple of coats if you're going over a black or a metal, and that's fine. This is all fine. All right, nothing here is hyper advanced. You're just going to these thin crevices, use small brushes, you use some level of attention, right? You don't just want to cover the sides with this splotchy, like, oh, the armpits are black now. Yeah. Here, I was identifying what color of skin shade I wanted to do on the neck, because they did not paint their neck a skin shade. I decided to go ahead and go in. This is the orange. Oh, I overpaint the eyes because they're goggles. So then whenever I go back through with a black kind of around them to, you know, eyeshadow, raccoon shade them a little bit. See, it's just me basically trying to put them at the same size. I put a little bit more if I overdo it, put a little less if I underdo it. I'm going back through with the pale shade. Me kind of comparing stuff, right? Making sure that my model is at least comparable to the pre-paint. Here I'm going to go through, I'm going to wash it. I'm trying an orange tone because it's red. Kind of just splashing it all over, right? You don't want to let it pull up too heavily, but you do want to have some amount of pulling for depth. I was not impressed with the orange tone I used. It didn't really do what I wanted it to do. It didn't really create that disparity, create any depth. It just kind of filled in the gaps with a little bit of orange. It kind of made it look dirty in certain places, which might have been to some level an appeal. But I went through with a black. I went back with a black shade, just understanding it's going to darken up my model quite a bit. This guy looks shiny. He will not be shiny after the paint is finished. I went through with the wash, kind of double checked on the emblem in the middle, making sure that there's some black kind of mixed in with it. Yeah, and that's kind of my end result here. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go through with I do not paint these the same color as the Heroscape bases deliberately, because I kind of like creating this difference of this is what I painted versus what the actual pre-painted look like. It's also nice to kind of cover the shades, right? That you like, all the paint that you accidentally hit on your base, all the wash that kind of fell down. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. He looks good. I like him. He's going to be cool on the table. He's similar enough to the normal Cobra Trooper, but he has those unique kind of changes. Yeah, that's a lot of the goal I was looking for, right? He's a stage, I would say, above the pre-painted. I'm going back through with the pale shades, just making sure my guy has the details where I wanted. Nothing is obscured, nothing is lost. This is Blake with Tabletop Bastion. I appreciate you guys watching my little paint video. This is a trial test, so thanks. You should try painting your own stuff. Just because the pre-paints are convenient, if you are trying to get into Heroscape, it may be worth going with these unpainted models, trying your hand at it. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to go through and do this great level of detail. Do your thing. Try stuff. Mess up sometimes. It's okay. It's a learning process. But don't be shying away from this opportunity to save some cash. You paint 4 boxes of these unpainted. You can get a 5th box and justify that cost. You're directly saving money to purchase more Heroscape. If you just buy these pre-painted, yes, you get the official paint jobs. Yes, that they kind of look how they are canonically supposed to look. But you may not love that. I personally do not like the Scavarith yellow. I don't think that it looks the way I imagine Scavarith should look. I gave him this like color shifting green, kind of making him look more snakish. He has almost like a scale appearance. That's what we're looking for. If you guys want more of this from Tabletop Bastion, kind of comment, like it. The more we get of that, the more I can kind of say, okay, cool. I plan to go through a lot of these Joe figurines, a lot of the Cobra ones specifically, and I'll probably finish this up with a Cobra Commander. But I want to make this a little bit of a mini-series, kind of see where it goes. Yeah, just one final thank you from Blake from Tabletop Bastion, and have a good one.